People don't always know the circumstances of their neighbors, and there may be different messages that people have received at the airport as well, which we've heard. So part of what we're doing is trying to make sure that what is provided to everybody, particularly now that the federal government has invoked the Quarantine Act to issue quarantine orders on every single person coming across the border. It makes it clearer. However, what makes it more complicated is federal orders are enforceable by the federal police force, by the RCMP. So it has been a bit of a process to understand how that is operationalized across the country. And our E-Division is working with the Public Health Agency and the Canadian Border Service Agency to ensure that that can happen here in BC. In the meantime, the provincial orders are, we have a compliance and enforcement guideline that now should be helpful for communities across the province, and how we, where people can complain, what's the type of things that can happen and how they can be enforced. So our way of approaching this in public health is to ensure that people know what is expected of them, and that's the first thing. And most of the cases that we have been involved in that have been investigated either from public health or from bylaw officers, it's people not understanding and not being very clear about what exactly is expected of them. So that's step number one, and for the most part when we do that, people are compliant. And that's the approach that we recommend taking. The federal quarantine order can be accompanied by fines and other things. But that would be through RCMP and the federal federal quarantine service. So yes, it's complicated, and operationalizing it is not a simple thing. We're trying to, for the most part, though, I know that people are doing the right thing. And particularly, they're doing the right thing to protect their own families and their own communities.
First of all, I think we can do better. And we've had these discussions now with the federal government at airports and at border crossings to do more. And they've clearly indicated that they're going to, and I think that's a good thing. We need to enforce, and the federal government needs to enforce the Quarantine Act. Dr. Henry went through in detail how that works. So those are the first sets of things. So yes, we need to do better. We need to do better both at the major airport, which is YVR, where flights are coming in from all over the place, and then from regional airports where flights are still coming in as well. Absolutely, we need to do better at a governmental level. But let's be clear, and especially, this is especially clear now, the Government of Canada and Foreign Affairs Canada is going through an extraordinary process to help Canadians to come home. And there is no excuse. The excuse of whether people were adequately contacted at the airport or not is not an excuse for people not to comply with the order. They have to self-isolate for 14 days when they come back from outside of the province. And this is of the country, and this is especially true in these times where such enormous efforts are being made by the Government of Canada to help people come home, setting up a series of flights, many flights that are going to bring people back to Canada from all around the globe. And whether you're whatever country in the world you're coming from, that obligation has to be absolute, it has to be clear, and it has to be followed. And there is no excuse not to follow it by anybody. We have another, and Dr. Henry referred to this, we're going to have another return, which is mostly not to British Columbia, but to other jurisdictions, of people from a cruise ship, we believe. And the Government of Canada, again, has engaged in extraordinary efforts to help Canadians abroad to come home. But in that case, as in all others, the expectation has to be high. And so, yes, I think we have to do better. And yes, I think the Government of Canada is committed to doing better, especially at the border, and I'm very appreciative of their response to that. But as well, there's an individual and personal responsibility of every single person who's coming back from outside the country to follow the orders of the provincial health officer, to follow the orders of the Government of Canada, and to, as I say, act in a way that is consistent with love for community, love for family, and love for everything else. And that means staying safe for 14 days when you come home.